trillions of dollars in copper, cobalt and gold. And yet 3 out of 4 Congolese survive on barely $2 a day. As the world rushes to build electric cars and smartphones powered by Congo's minerals, poverty here only deepens. Why does the richest poor country on earth get left with nothing? The answer exposes a system of extraction, betrayal and consequences that stretch far beyond its borders. Beneath the surface of the Democratic Republic of Congo lies an estimated $24 trillion in mineral wealth. Copper, cobalt, gold, diamonds and coltan, enough to power the world's electric cars, smartphones and solar panels for generations. Yet the country ranks near the bottom of the United Nations Human Development Index, often listed around 180 out of 193 nations. More than 70% of Congolese people survive on less than $2.15 per day. In practical terms, that means 3 out of 4 citizens lack access to reliable shelter, clean water, or enough food. Mining is the engine of the Congolese economy, accounting for over 90% of export earnings. The country holds about 10% of the world's copper reserves, more than a third of global cobalt, and the largest deposits of coltan on the planet. In 2024 alone, Congo attracted over $130 million in new mineral exploration. That was more than any other African nation. Yet the benefits rarely reach ordinary people. In mining towns like Kolwezi, workers can spend days digging for cobalt that sells for hundreds of dollars per kilogram, but most will never see more than a few dollars for their labour. This is the paradox at the heart of Congo's story, a nation rich enough to supply the world, yet where poverty is the rule, not the exception. The numbers reveal a stark contradiction: vast mineral fortunes on paper and daily struggle for survival on the ground. Every rechargeable battery in a phone, laptop or electric car likely contains cobalt or coltan pulled from Congolese soil. Over half the world's cobalt lies beneath Congo's red earth, along with the largest reserves of coltan, a mineral essential for nearly every device that connects people across the globe. The world's appetite for green energy has turned these minerals into lifelines for tech giants and automakers. But for the people who dig them out, the reality is far from clean or green. In Kolwezi, men and boys descend into hand-dug pits, sometimes no wider than a barrel, searching for cobalt with nothing but shovels and bare hands. The average miner earns less than $8 a day, often less than half that. Some are children as young as 7, working 12-hour shifts in toxic dust. Many miners develop persistent coughs or worse, lung disease, crushed limbs, and in some cases, death beneath collapsing earth. One miner's wife describes her husband's hands permanently scarred and swollen, and her fear that each day he leaves for the pit may be his last. The copper that runs through solar panels and wind turbines, the coltan that powers smartphones, and the cobalt that fuels electric vehicles all trace back to Congo's mines. Yet while the rest of the world races toward a cleaner future, the people at the source of this revolution remain trapped in poverty and danger. The demand for green technology has made Congo's minerals more valuable than ever, but the human price is paid in silence, far from the headlines and corporate promises of sustainability. Ownership of Congo's mineral wealth rests largely outside Congolese hands. Chinese companies now control about 70% of the country's copper production and 50% of its cobalt output, holding the keys to resources vital for electric vehicles and renewable energy. Swiss giant Glencore, along with Canadian and UAE firms, also command major stakes in the largest mines. The state-owned Gécamines, once the backbone of Congo's mining sector, holds less than 20% in most joint ventures. These minority shares leave the government with little leverage over how minerals are mined, sold or priced. Profits flow out as dividends to foreign shareholders, with only a fraction returning as taxes or royalties. Most of the minerals leave the country as raw ore or concentrate, bound for refineries and factories abroad. The real value of these minerals in processing, refining and manufacturing happens elsewhere. For Congo, this means exporting its future for a fraction of its true worth, while roads, schools and hospitals remain unfinished dreams. In 2008, the Democratic Republic of Congo signed a landmark agreement with a consortium of Chinese companies. The deal was simple on paper: access to billions in copper and cobalt reserves in exchange for $6 billion worth of roads, hospitals, schools and energy projects. State-owned Gécamines held a minority stake, while Chinese firms led construction and extraction. Officially, the Gécamines joint venture was meant to be a turning point, transforming mineral wealth into public works visible across the country. But more than a decade later, the promised transformation remains out of reach. Audits and watchdog reports show less than 1/5 of the pledged infrastructure ever materialised. Roads remain unpaved, clinics unfinished, and electricity grids stalled. Meanwhile, copper and cobalt continue to flow out of the country at full speed, with profits routed through complex webs of intermediaries. Key figures, both Congolese officials and foreign brokers, diverted funds into private accounts, leaving the public with little more than broken promises. The minerals left the ground, but the infrastructure never arrived. For many Congolese, the deal is a daily reminder that wealth can be extracted with almost nothing given in return. Corruption runs deep in the Democratic Republic of Congo, shaping every level of government and business. The state is captured by networks that put private gain above public service. The country ranks 164 out of 180 on Transparency International's 2024 Corruption Perceptions Index, with a score of just 19 out of 100. This is not a recent problem. For more than 3 decades, Mobutu Sese Seko ruled through a system of personal enrichment, siphoning billions from state coffers, and embedding a culture where public office meant private gain. After Mobutu, the Kabila family continued this pattern, diverting mining revenues into hidden accounts and using state enterprises as vehicles for patronage. Today, oversight bodies remain weak and courts rarely prosecute those with political connections. Mining contracts are negotiated behind closed doors, often with bribes exchanged for access to lucrative concessions. Billions in potential tax revenue vanish each year before they can fund schools, clinics or roads. Without independent institutions or real accountability, the rules are written by those who profit most from the status quo. This entrenched system leaves the state unable to control its borders, regulate its mines or protect its people. Armed groups have turned eastern Congo's minerals into fuel for endless conflict. More than 120 militias operate across the provinces of Ituri, North Kivu and South Kivu, fighting for control of mines and trade routes. In March 2024, the M23 rebel group seized Rabaya, one of the richest coltan mining sites in North Kivu. The attack forced thousands of miners to flee, abandoning their livelihoods as M23 imposed new taxes and strict controls. From Rabaya and other occupied sites, minerals flow through clandestine networks across the border. Rwanda, with almost no coltan reserves of its own, exported over 1,000 tons last year, far more than it could ever mine domestically. United Nations reports confirm that most of this ore, Richest, originated in Congo, laundered through Rwandan traders and shipped on to global markets. The war economy has claimed 6 million lives and displaced 7 million more, while the profits from Congo's minerals vanish into the hands of armed groups and foreign brokers. This is smuggling, and the human cost is enormous. Collapsed roads and broken bridges cut off entire communities from markets and hospitals. In rural provinces, families travel for hours on foot just to reach a school or clinic, if one exists at all. 1 in 12 Congolese children does not survive to their 5th birthday, a rate driven by malnutrition, disease, and lack of clean water. The country holds 80 million hectares of arable land, yet imports food because so little is cultivated. Mining runoff poisons rivers and soil, stripping farmers and fishers of their livelihoods while leaving landscapes scarred and forests cleared. Meanwhile, the Grandinga hydropower project, with the potential to generate 40 gigawatts of electricity, remains stalled by instability and underinvestment. Instead of powering factories or lighting homes, most Congolese live in darkness, caught between the promise of their land and the reality of what has been lost. Every smartphone and electric car battery links us to Congo's buried wealth and to its broken promise. As global demand climbs, so does the human cost. Until real accountability exists, the world's green revolution is built on a foundation of exploitation. Whose future are we really powering?